Hey guys, yep, we have a brand new little chibi model now. Very nice for Pokeport. But in any case, welcome. This is gonna be our Star Savior beginner guide by Professor Pokke. I've been pretty much playing this game every single day at the start of roughly December, January, on the JP server. You want to check out a more detailed, in-depth 100+ hour review on the JP server, you can kindly check out in this video over here. For today's content, I'm just gonna be preparing you guys on exactly what to expect for Star Savior as like a best all-in-one beginner guide, which will be covering the table of contents you can see over here. What is Star Savior, the big changes for the game, basic terms, gacha system, combat progression sort, as well as the endgame checklist, right? So a little bit of context as to my progression in Star Savior. I have more than 100+ over hours on Steam itself, as well as on mobile, because I played this game on JP server almost exclusively, pretty much around level 70-ish, so the progression starts to slow down quite a bit towards the end. I'm completely free to play, do not spend a single cent, and I would say that I've pretty much played as much as this game has to offer from the time of release all the way until now, in which I'm just going to be dedicating my time towards the global server, right? So I tried out all of the different arcana, tried out all of the different units, right? PvP, PvE content, check out all the tier lists from JP, from everywhere else, so that's just a little bit of context. So what exactly is Star Savior? It is pretty much going to be a anime waifu turn-based roguelike RPG gacha game. So you can kind of think of it as Honkai Star Rail plus Epic 7 plus Uma Musume plus Nikke all combined into a single game itself. So the game itself is pretty much going to be a 4-unit team, just like Epic 7 HSR, with 5 different elements, RGB plus 2 cosmic elements, which is going to be light and dark, and different roles like your supports, your strikers, your assassins, your defenders, as well as a toughness bar damage, which would be quite relevant, especially in PvE. The turn-based combat for Star Savior is actually going to be a little bit more similar to Epic 7 instead of HSR because of the way that speed tuning and PvP, as well as the soul burn mechanic, which is going to be the boost, all those are way more similar to E7 in that sense. Aside from that, we also have a couple of AFK-like elements, such as, for example, Nikke of Goddess of Victory, as well as the synchronization levels. So you want to raise up 4 of your units to be the highest possible unit, put them in the synchronizer, and every other unit you own will also have the same levels, right? So that's going to be the very similar progression for Nikke. And then for the career training portion, that's going to be from Uma Musume, right? So you can check out from our old video, you can see the career breakdown. It is pretty much just like how you want to raise your Umas, but in this case, they are raising your saviors within a 1-year time frame. I think we'll be talking about a detailed guide for the career progression when the game comes out, because it is honestly quite deep, but for now, don't worry about it, because if you play Uma Musume, you know exactly how it works. The story for Star Savior is pretty much going to be sci-fi and cosmic based. The endgame is going to be set in a PvE and PvP environment. And then for the overall graphics and the music and the quality, I won't talk about it too much over here, but they're definitely on the 2026 quality and the caliber. They have very expressive models, a lot of fan service, very interactive, and yep, that's pretty much it. So what are the big changes for Star Savior, especially ever since their KR and JP launch, and tomorrow, as of time of recording, it is going to be going up on the global server, in which I'll definitely going to be playing myself. So compared to KR and JP, there have been absolutely insane changes across the board from day one, so much so to the point where the KR and JP community might not be too happy, because they were seen as like a test server, because the number of quality of life they have implemented for global is actually insane for day one compared to what they had back then, right? So for example, I'm just going to list a couple of things here, but there are even more that we have not really discussed, but these are going to be the bigger changes, where the gacha system actually went from a 2.5% SSR to a 4% SSR rate, better dupes balance. So for example, there's this unit called Wild Ashira, or like Gala Ashira, which is going to be the girl in the dress. Her dupes were extremely strong, in fact the strongest in the entire game, and ever since the incident, a lot of people were very upset with the game itself. But after that unit, every other subsequent new unit that came out, they toned down the balance on the dupe system drastically. So for most units nowadays, you only just need a single copy of that unit, and you can pretty much get them to work from the ground up, right? World's Ashura is gonna be the only outlier, right? And they also adjusted the difficulty balances for the PvE content, especially if some players still could not farm their stages more effectively. Improve the overall career by introducing a super ultra hard mode, which will give you much better stats, for example, your S rank saviors, constant unit buffs, so your defender class, your healer class, and any underperforming units or even arcanas, which are the support cards, they also get buffed throughout the course of time, so there's nothing too fixed about a unit being tier 5 for the rest of the game, right? There are also skip tickets for more quality of life, more materials you're going to be obtaining from Speed of Stamina, added a guild war as well as a fixed level 200 for all units in PvP to make it a lot more accessible to everyone, as well as a ton of freebies for devs listened, which I'm going to be going through in just a moment right here. So speaking about the freebies for dev systems, while KR and JP, they also have a lot of freebies. So for example, they literally gave out everybody one single copy of Wild's Ashura for free because of the Duke drama, right? So I think that the devs, B-side, they have been very receptive to a lot of the changes. So from right now, global server straight from the get-go, I literally cannot fit the amount of freebies that we're going to be getting in a single screen. So in summary, we're going to be getting more than 750 savior pools, 320 Arcana pools, the Kodak banner featuring countersight, 2 random SSR Arcanas, 3 fixed SSR Arcanas, 9 random SSR Saviors, 1 Cosmic Selector which you can choose Lacy, as well as a universal limit break for the Quasi Core. For this particular thing, you probably want to save it because you can save for any other future units as well. Other than that, Welt's Asha is probably going to be the ideal choice. So as I was saying, yes, this has a lot of freebies for a new player in the global server, but just to keep in mind, all of these free things, right, the 750 pools, 300 pools, all of them, they will not be obtained day one. So you kind of have to play through the mission, play through the story, play through the progression a little bit. I'm not exactly sure on launch how many pools we can actually do, especially considering we do have the brand new limited collaboration with Countersight. So just to keep in mind a little bit, but overall, throughout the course of the game itself, so the lifespan, as long as you progress through the story, you are going to be getting these amount of resources for your account, which is why I didn't really feel that much pressure even in spending money, despite this being like a PvP game, right? So that's pretty much it. Now moving on to the basic terms for Star Savior, this is gonna be your premium currency. For 200 of these Xingguang Shi is gonna be 1 pool. You will use them generally for the rate up. You never ever want to spend them for the standard, just like any other gacha games, right? For the other 3 different pool tickets, it's gonna be your rate up ticket, your standard Savior ticket, as well as your standard Arcana ticket. The pity in this game, I'll explain it a little bit more for the gacha portion, but the 2 different tokens right here, one is gonna be a little bit rainbow, one is a little bit more gray. Those are the rate up and standard pity mileage points. So it's a little bit, you can think of it as like Uma Musume. If you obtain 200 copies of this pity points, you can then redeem for 1 copy of said unit, right? For the standard pity, it's gonna be on a rotational short basis, which I'll explain later as well. Then below that is gonna be the gold EXP, as well as this thing called core. I'm not exactly sure what this is in English, but it is a very similar sort of a progression system to Nikkei, Goddess of Victory, where your core is gonna be a bottleneck in the early to mid game. Then towards the late game, it's gonna look into your gold, because a single level you can see is gonna take a ridiculous amount of resources on every single stage. And then below the leveling materials, which you're gonna be getting AFK from the same thing as your story progression, these are gonna be the green, blue, and gold cubes, which will be used for skill materials to level up. This is extremely rare, at least at the start of the game in JP and KR, but they have since improved the income for these materials drastically. But as of right now, gold cubes are still very rare, so use them sparingly. So for most of the units you are going to be seeing, leave your skill levels to around 366 for your basic skill and ultimate. Only take a unit skill level to beyond to like level 8 or level 10 if they have specifically a very high usage rate, right? So if you're a main DPS or if at level 10 they give them a cooldown reduction, you can go ahead and get their upgrades. Then below that is going to be your stamina as well as stamina potion, only 240 stamina max. There are no such thing as overflow, so unfortunately we don't have that. And a single telescope is going to be 60 stamina. Generally speaking, stamina management in this game, you only ever want to spend these on gears, because the other materials, they are going to be given to you on a daily skip ticket function. So you're going to be giving those 3 times a day every single day. I would say they also added a system of allowing you to convert your stamina into more of the farm materials if you would like to, but generally speaking, you don't have to worry about it too much, especially in the early game. And the other materials are mainly going to be tied to your ascension for your different core resonance for units, as well as your arcana level ups. And the cube palette is going to be on once a day to get your cubes, which is why I say even till now, cubes are going to be a very rare resource. And then the last thing over here is going to be the journey ticket, which you'll be using for a single run in the journey. If you use up all of your journey tickets, you will actually start using stamina. I believe it is 60 stamina for a single journey, but generally speaking, I have not felt the pressure to actually farm journey that much, because for Star Savior, the journey progression is actually actually pretty straightforward. It is not as grindable as compared to, like, say, Uma Musume, because the units and the events, they are very standardized. So most of the units will be following the same build path. So all the DPS will follow the DPS path, all of the sustain will follow the sustain path. So it's a lot more straightforward and not as much RNG variance to the journey itself. As of right now, we have an easy, medium, and hard difficulty for the journey with a single scenario. I'm not sure if they're going to be adding more scenarios in the future, so we'll see what's up. And then if there are any other terms that you guys do not understand, feel free to ask in the comments below, or just join our Discord, !discord.gg/PokeSvillage. Now, moving on into Star Saviour's Gacha system, this is going to be 200 gems for a single pool and 200 pool for one full PT exchange. Now, the very important thing about this PT exchange is that it can be transferred cross banners. So for example, if you were to spend 100 pools on banner A, you can use this PT banner tokens on the next banner as well, and they do not have any expiry date. So as long as you just keep pulling this PT exchange points, it will keep piling up and up. So it will be highly recommended to save this for someone that really wants dupes. Ever since Wild's Ashura, there's not been a single unit that wants a dupe tree as close to her. So I would say, unless something changes in the future, you should save up all of these PT exchanges for at least Wild's Ashura's limit break tree, unless they introduce some sort of other mechanics. For example, maybe counter-side collaboration, limited events, they also want to do that. So we'll see how that's going to be going. For the rates itself in the game, it's going to be 4% SSR rate with 50-50 on RGB, which is going to be on green, blue, and red units, and 25-75 on your cosmic banner with no hard PT. So just like Uma Musume, if you were to go like 100 pools with no SSR, that can happen as well. But because the rates for this is going to be at 4%, it is actually not as common as you would expect it to be. So for example, on my free-to-play account, I have been getting double or even triple SSRs very, very frequently, just purely from the rates that this game is going to be giving you. So generally, you could basically see this gacha system as a little bit like Uma Musume, but with a better pity system, because the pity can exchange cross banners. So the banner itself, there are going to be 3 main banners, 1 rate up banner, 1 rerun banner, and 1 standard banner. The rate up banner, they can be added to the gacha pool, but it takes time and it's not immediate. So for example, even till now, any of the units that have appeared so far, they will eventually all get added into the random pool as you are going to be progressing through the game. The latest attachment that has not been added is going to be Bunny Charles. They have not been added as of now, but Wild's Ashura has already been added to the cosmic banner, so it's gonna be fine. And then as of right now, we also have the first ever collab banner teased on the global, same time as KR and JP, which is gonna be tomorrow. So this might be our first ever true limited banner, because we have no idea how it's actually gonna be like. So this is gonna be our first collaboration, so we'll just see what's up. There are also some paid banners for a single time for a guaranteed random SSR, but they are limited only to your launch unit as well as Arcana, so it's not that good, right? Because they didn't get any of the additional brand new SSRs. Most of the units in this game as of right now, they do not need dupes, especially for the new ones, except for Wild's Ashura. So that's pretty much how this game is gonna be like. If you do need dupes for this game, the only purpose would be to get them to level 200 for 4 different units, so that all other units in your team can actually raise to level 200 as well. So after the gacha banner, we are just going to talk a little bit of my reroll advice. I would say this is going to be our first ever collab banner, so we might see more priorities depending on how good these collab units are. Personally speaking, I've been playing Counter-Strike like ever since literally my first game on my stream and my YouTube, so I have a lot of nostalgia attached to Counter-Strike itself, so we're definitely gonna be nostalgia baited. But other than that, we'll see how these units are gonna be. Aside from the collab banner, you will definitely use your Cosmic Selector for a guaranteed Lacy. There are no other better choice. Please use this on Lacy to get the best early game progression. If not for the collab banner, you can see which of the following units are gonna be on rate up, namely Wild's Ashura, Bunny Charles, as well as Emily. Bunny Charles as well as Emily, they are, I believe, red as well as green units respectively, with Wild's Ashura being the only cosmic unit. These 3 are going to be known as the big 3 of PvE and PvP, which they are still tier 0 till this day, so very, very strong units. For the standard banner, the units does not matter as much, but you can try to reroll for Arcanas. The notable Arcanas are going to be your Lacy, Rin, Charles, and Petra in that order over there. But during that, for the Petra Arcana, you do have a Battle Pass option, which gives you the exact same stats, but those are only going to be for the paying players. If the collab units are very, very strong, for example, Rosaria as well as A Hilde, you can ignore and aim for the collab banners first because they are most likely to be limited, but we have no idea as of right now. And besides Wild's Ashura, no other units in this game really requires the dupes, so save for Wild's Ashura's 3 dupe for full heal as well as damage potential. Everything else, just keep them at dupe 0 and just naturally obtain more SSRs as you progress through the game. So with that out of the way, I'm just gonna quickly touch on the combat basics of Star Savior. If you guys play Epic 7, you will probably not be be too unfamiliar with this, or even Honkai style Reroll. So there's going to be a basic, skill, and ultimate, as you can see from the bottom right hand corner. I've also explained this in my original review, so if you want to check that out in more in-depth, feel free to go for it as well. There's this thing called the burst, where you are going to be getting these burst tokens to enhance your unit skills to either deal more toughness bar damage or just have additional effects as a whole. And then the top middle right hand corner is a little guy over there with the 3 symbols. That's going to be your guardian. So every single time you break a target, you'll gain +1 of the dots, and if you were to break an elite, you are going to get more of those dots, right? So generally speaking, you don't really want to care too much about the minions themselves, and you only want to focus on the main boss guy. At least that's what my PvE experience has been for majority of the portion. During PvP, that's going to be a different thing, so don't worry about it. Then in the bottom left hand corner, you can see the action value. So the number that's going to be higher means that you're going to be taking turns first. So it's going to be Tanya first, followed by Lacey, followed by the enemy boss, followed by Petra, followed by Welch Ashura, and then the goons respectively. And then on the top corner in the middle, you can see the enemy toughness bar, the indicator by number 12. So the moment you were to break this number 12, so every single time you do a toughness bar damage, it will be conducted by your skill and ultimate, or if you're going to be on element, you'll get a +1 toughness bar. You will reduce its toughness to 0, and the moment you break this guy's toughness to 0, you will give him a 100% action value delay, which is extremely crucial for the PvE aspect of this game. And then aside from it, it's going to be his abilities, which are going to be on cooldown. Same thing for units just like Epic 7. If there are any other things that you guys are unsure of, feel free to ask me in the comments once again, because I want to keep this as summarized as possible. Now, moving on to the team building, I would say generally speaking, you will be using the same one team throughout the early to mid-game PvE with Lacey as your core. Because for Lacey, she has a built-in sustain, making defender and healer classes obsolete back then, but ever since, devs have listened and they buffed both defense and healer classes, so they're much better now. But as of right now, Lacey is still going to be extremely strong, especially in the early game when you want to focus your resources on that particular DPS. With Lacey, you can often clear stages without a sustain, though sometimes you may still need Freya, which is going to be free, the green healer, or Welch Ashura for comfort. Nowadays, we do have a lot more options for the early game, such as, for example, Muriel as well as Emily, which can help you get through as well if you do have them as a choice. But right now, we are guaranteed Lacey. Everyone amongst will have Lacey, so please just use Lacey for your progression unless you have those other units. So you can see from this example over here, we have 1 core DPS, 2 support and alternative DPS, and 1 healer/defender. So for the 2 units at the front, they'll have a higher chance of getting targeted, which is why the higher aggro rate. So you want to place your Lacey and your tank right here on the front so that they can get hit, right? You want Lacey to get hit because she has the self-sustain. And the last one is you want to try to match the right element, or at least non-off element against the bosses, because like I mentioned just now, toughness bar breaking is extremely important in this game. So if you're going to be on the right element, you'll break the bosses a lot faster, which means you can deal more damage and take less damage. In-depth guide for team building will be explained in the future, especially for endgame PvE content. So now I'm just going to quickly talk about a progression guide just to get us started. So in the following order of priority, this is going to be how your progression will look like in Star Savior. Number 1, push your main story quest as far as you can until you're going to be locked by the AFK battle sector, which can be seen from this book icon over here. So after you get there, you want to push your AFK battle sector until you cannot pass the boss stage anymore, because you simply will get defeated. Usually every 5 stages is going to be 1 elite. After that, you can then do your daily farming stages at the highest difficulty, and all these difficulties are locked not behind your player level, but rather your AFK battle sector level, right? So your battle sector is going to be the one that determines your progression. So clear as fast as you can and as high as you can to get the most efficient rate of farming for all of your units. And then you can see there's this one more thing over here at the journey. So for the journey, different difficulties of the journey is going to be unlocking at different stages of your battle sector. The most difficult one unlocking at 18-60, which is going to be taking, I would say, at least 2 to 3 weeks for most players. So for now, don't worry about the end game, which are the PvE and PvP, at least in the first 1 week, especially as a free-to-play. Just progress through the game as much as you can. Then there are some other content as well. For example, this event stage seen from this little present box icon. The events are always the same format in Star Savior, where you have an event story, quick farm all of the stages, some challenge stage, and you have a little shop to buy all of the different event currency, which are extremely nice, right? Every single event, they give you like 10 boosts for limited, 10 boosts for standard, and 10 boosts for the standard arcana. So it's a lot of resources. So please do your events. Aside from that, players can mostly clear pretty much the entire event shop with no issues. Maybe some challenge stages might be a little bit difficult, but the devs have since lowered the difficulty from the Welch Ashura patch, so don't worry about it too much for now. Other content such as one time as well as recurring PvE endgame, clear as much as you can for the one-time clear rewards just to get better progression. For the PvP, RTA, Guild War, don't worry about winning, just clear them daily for the arena points to buy cubes from the arena shop, more so on the endgame checklist. I also want to say one thing, as you progress through the game itself, they also give you a lot of different achievements where you can get those like relics, right? So you get a lot of tier 1 gold gears. Please feel free to use them as much as you can because they can make your units a lot stronger compared to units without a gold gear, right? Tier 1 is the first starting point. We are eventually going to unlock tier 2 farming towards the future, but in the earlier stages, just gear your main team as much as you can. Do not need to save them. Now, moving on to the second last portion, that's going to be our shop, guys. Our first talking about a free shop followed by the paid shop, and that's pretty much going to be it. So for the free shop over here, it's going to be split into 5 main categories, refresh on a daily basis. The first shop is going to be only buying the free stuff, don't worry about it. Second shop, you will want to save your standard pity token until you can use it to limit break tree a character for level 200 for your synchronizer. The second page is going to be where you're going to be getting on discounted books, so just get them on a daily basis. For the third page, you're always going to be buying the gold cubes as much as you can, followed by your purple cubes. For the second page, in the third page, you want to get your gold cubes as well. For the fourth page, you're going to just buy the materials if you need them, but don't worry about it for now. And the fifth page, you just skip them unless you are going to be a whale. And then for the pay shop, I would say I was a complete free-to-play in the JP server. Did not spend anything, but I still got very decent progression. So do not feel compelled to spend anything for the game itself. So for the first category, all of the 3 pages are very good value if you are thinking of buying for them. For the second category, is not too bad, but only for the whales. For the third category, is going to be a monthly pass, one giving you gem and one giving you 100 stamina every single day. And the fourth one is going to be for the raw packs. The pricing for this game in a raw pack is going to be roughly 48 pools for 80 USD, which is going to be not too shabby, but considering the pity is going to be 200, it might be a little bit steep. And then lastly, for your battle pass, there are 3 different monthly battle pass, one free version and one paid version, as well as 2 one-time premium C pass, which is going to be 35 pools for 20 USD if you want to pick them up. And then lastly, we're just going to talk about our endgame checklist, and I'll be seeing you guys on the global server. So for the PvE endgame, they call it Cosmic Gate or like Cosmo Gate. It is very similar to Hall of Trials in Epic 7 or Danger Close in Counter-Strike. So there will be 2 different bosses with unique elements and mechanics, so you will definitely need 2 different teams, and ideally your teams will have the right mechanic for set bosses. The rewards are not that big between a competitive player as well as a casual player, so you can see the top 50 players get 11 pools, whereas the top 10% is 5 pools, so it's really not that big of a gap. And there are also points completion rewards for those players who can actually just clear the boss as high as you go. They refresh, I believe, on a weekly basis, so 1 week on and 1 week off, so it's just a little bit more of an additional content. And then for the PvP endgame, this is pretty much where the game is actually supposed to be focused on, because Counter-Strike is going to be known for its PvP endgame, and I would say starsavior Global is probably going to be looking at the same route as well. So very similar to Epic 7 and Counter-Strike, the rewards are also not a very big difference from the top ranking, like the Challenger rank, all the way down to the Gold ranking, right? One is going to be for Arena, which is going to be for AI defenses, and one is going to be RTA with picks and bans between real-time players. There's also going to be Guild War, but it's currently just a raid boss to see your maximum points, very similar to Counter-Strike's Consortium Battle, which is going to be my first ever YouTube video on my entire channel. The meta for PvP is relatively fluid because everybody is going to be level 200, so we'll see how global is going to be looking like. And with that, we come to the end of my day 1 beginner progression best free-to-play guide for starsavior. Any questions, any comments, anything you guys need to know that I didn't explain in details, feel free to just leave them down in the comments or join our Discord. I'll be happy to let you guys know, or just hop onto my streams at twitch.tv/MrPokke. I'll be answering as much questions as possible. Definitely be playing this game day 1. I've been looking forward to a B-side game for a very long time, back to my roots. So word of the day is going to be, we are so back. Join Twitch, join Discord, use code POKKE with 10% off gamer subs. All the best for Gacha System. See you guys next time. Take care.